that's looking at Chad, I can't burn her.
Wait, what?
No, you can't burn her.
Generally inadvisable.
I mean, you
This is
can,
fucking
but
shit, man.
it's just not good.
It's physically possible. Like you could
How do-
physically burn her. Like,
If I was a religious,
You can even do
zealot,
that if
or
she
if
doesn't
I-
look at chat.
Actually, you know what? I just need to convert to Islam, and then it'll be alright. And I'll just throw
Well,
acid
no,
in the face.
that would be stupid.
In the
No, I'll just
secular
throw
world,
acid in the
in the
face.
secular world that you live in, you have a tendency of killing unborn babies.
Oh, that's true. If you're an American.
Yeah, there's a quote about from a historian who said about a crusader. They're always complaining about the Crusades. He said that a crusader would probably.
They're like 5.
Are you pro-life?
You know what's weird?
What I'm
though
saying
is
is, he said a
Love is
crusader.
the
What would a
ones who
crusader
love
say
us.
about us? What would a crusader say about us? We've invaded the Middle East about 50 times.
Man,
I've
wouldn't it be
invaded
funny
worlds
if
hundreds
religion
of
was
times.
wouldn't it be funny if religion was real and then all those mothers who
No.
fucking had abortions went to hell because they killed their child?
No, that would
Murdered
be
them.
terrifying.
That would be awesome.
Fucking A.
That'd be
I've never
fucking
had an
hilarious.
abortion, but what the
Murdering your baby? Yeah.
It's like
Murdering-
you
Oh my God.
the gates, the pearly
Murder
gates, and he's like,
in a room
and
full of
you'll
guys
be like,
means
who've never been
suicide.
pregnant.
Murder
Me.
also.
and you're like, oh, I'm the nicest
implies,
person ever. Look at all
criminal.
this I did for charity and stuff.
Murder
And then,
is a case that they gave me.
and so Peter's like, what the fuck? You killed like 3 babies. What have you done?
You know they do late term
Dude,
abortion.
I know
too,
a
right,
chick who's
Clarice?
killed like
Like
I know
if
a
a
chick
baby
who's
is
I know
born
a chick
alive?
who's had like
Only if
so
it's
many
medically necessary.
abortions.
The
Hang on, I thought you
Carthaginians
become
used-
sterile after the 3rd.
She should just get birth control.
Yeah,
Duh.
but I thought you became sterile after the 3rd.
Dude,
I
imagine
have
if
no
you're like
idea.
if
Is
you're
that-
like a child and
Oh.
your parents tell you not to wear mixed fabrics, and then you do wear like say cotton and linen at the same time, and so the parents now have to take you into the middle of the village and have you stoned to death, and then you also go to hell after that because you dared
Hey.
disobey the command.
Would you abort your kids now,
James.
Clarice?
Oh God,
That
no.
was,
Why
No.
not? They're just a bundle of cells.
Gisron, that was allegorical.
To be real, like honestly, like
Ratson, just
if
let me
the
have some
child
fun.
like if the
No, it
child see there are certain circumstances where abortion seems kind of logical. Like I mean, if the child is gonna
When is that?
I don't know, really like this.
I don't either.
So, oh, you don't want to what?
It's not yeah, been wanting that I don't get.
Oh my
Okay.
fucking god!
Abortion
Is this
isn't about-
is
get
this
to
the
the-
Krillism crew here? Is everyone
Abortion.
here from
Yes.
Krillism?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
fucking shit! No wonder it took me so long.
This is a split off from Krillism. I mean, this is modus ponens here. Don't.
I'm just suggesting historically, those guys might judge you as well, the modern
We've
guys,
rebranded.
those kinds of policies, you know?
Yeah, but well, there's guys.
Oh my
from
God, I
history
can't wait to
are
get
dead.
pregnant again. It's gonna be so awesome.
Don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I just think.
What are you kidding? No, dude.
I'll help you.
Being pregnant is so cool. And you have like this little alien baby in your belly, and like,
It's not an alien. You made
Oh.
it. You know where it's
yeah,
came
well,
from.
it's human. it
I'll give you a baby.
just
not
feels
alien.
like an alien when it's inside you.
No, don't call
You
it
will
an
never
alien.
know.
Wait,
I'm
how would
so
you know how an
sorry.
alien
You will
inside you
never
feels?
know.
Have you had an abortion?
No, I've never. No, I have a 4-year-old.
Oh, okay.
You're
Well,
thinking
that's
of like
A
the
fucking
chest
4
burster
foot
from
tall,
Aliens.
a 4 foot tall 4-year-old.
Pretty tall.
He's pretty massive.
You giving
Yeah,
him sterile
nobody
chicken or
actually
something?
really
That's what she
cares.
said.
We were going to ask you about what you thought about abortion, and it doesn't seem like you said anything cogent. You just said like every other word.
Oh, sorry about that.
Did you want to like try
Oh,
again?
No.
Like,
This is
did,
Krillism.
Like maybe
like,
like
try again.
like I don't know like
About abortion? I think, I mean, I've seen, I know people who've had a lot of abortions, like this one chick. She's called the 6-toed hoe because she has 6 toes on one foot, and she's a hoe.
What the fuck is
And-
wrong with
nice meme.
And no, I'm not
yeah.
kidding. I'm not even kidding. But she, she, oh my
I've
god,
heard the story before though.
I feel really bad like talking about someone else right now. No, this isn't.
Yeah,
okay.
so Clarice, let me
So
ask
you
you,
don't
are
have a position on it.
I think that
Sounds
people
like
should be
she'd be
able.
like-
I think that people should be able to get abortions.
Hold on, let me ask you a question. Let's clarify this real quick.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
this girl got a lot of abortions because the
Yeah.
babies would have gotten in the way of her social life and socializing, right?
Yep.
So are you okay with women
No, I think
killing
she needs
babies?
to be on birth control.
Well, look, she has taken the advice of all the feminists and all the modern people. She's a living, walking, talking
I'm a
example.
moron.
She's
What are you
actually the
talking
best
about, Brother Barnes?
student in the class
Barnes?
for all of the ideas that the New York Times is selling. You know,
Oh, is that what
Jesus
Clarice said?
Christ.
Damn.
I don't
Clarice.
read the news.
Declan, we need to partition this shit real quick.
I know, right?
Wait, are you guys like?
We need to
Well,
fucking
let's get
chase,
rid of noise.
chase one locale over the cliff and not get the whole bunch. We just need to do one at a time here.
I say
Okay, well,
New York
you,
Times,
Michael, you
maybe.
throw the flashbang, and I'll get right to work.
Clarice, so did you have some sort of principled stance for or against abortion or not?
some principled stance for or
Are you
against
for or
abortion.
against it?
No, I'm for it. I think
Well,
that
you-
I think that we should have the choice
In virtue of what?
depending on the scenario.
In virtue,
the situation.
No, I
of-
mean,
No,
why do you-
Boomman, you weren't asked the question. Clarice, was.
virtue
If you
of
could politely
convenience,
just
my
sit
man.
down and shut
Everybody's
the fuck up
talking
while
over
Clarice
everyone,
answers
so-
the question, that would be great, bud.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
now,
mean,
in
when
virtue-
everyone's
Chill
talking
out,
at the
Mr.
same time.
Authority.
All right.
And
yeah,
and,
and let's not forget that if you've got abortion in your country, the
okay,
men-
Brother Baines, I was in the
have
middle
something to do with it
of
as
having
well.
a conversation with someone. Okay, so in virtue of what should people be allowed to have abortions?
Yeah,
Do you need help?
I said yeah.
No,
No, that's
Look.
not an answer. He's asking you.
Sorry, maybe I
Like-
misheard. I'm sorry.
Like you could
Sounds
say
like
in
an
virtue
inquisition.
of
Okay.
them feeling like it, they should be able to
Right.
have abortion.
right. So in
Just because
virtue
they
of
feel like they just feel like it. They're like, oh
Right,
shit,
like-
I got pregnant, and I don't want
yeah,
to
why?
be pregnant.
Why?
I think,
convenience.
Why should people?
that's I mean that I think is a big part of it for a lot of
Of
people.
course, it's convenient.
Yeah.
It may
as
be for
far
a lot
as-
of people, right?
I mean,
Always talking about the rare exceptions. It's not the rare.
Why don't
Brother
you
depending
Baines.
on
just
the
No.
dad too. No, hold on.
They
Depending
love
on
to
the
talk
father.
about the rape cases.
Depending on the no, seriously, like depending on the father, like if that guy is a fucking douche and he knocked you up and got you pregnant,
Why'd you let
Look,
him stick
Wait a
their
minute.
dick in
Look.
your
That
dick?
might be a-
She didn't
What?
have to
Look.
pregnant.
serious.
Look, wait. Look, why is
No?
it that a woman should be allowed to have an abortion?
Why is it that a woman should be forced to?
You're not answering the question.
If you
No,
have
I mean
sex, it's your fault.
I'm
So,
counter.
Boom Man, if you interrupt
why
one
is-
more time, I'm gonna mute your ass again. So
Why
you
is
can
it-
sit down.
All right, so I'll
So-
help put her answer out. I think part of what she's saying is they should be allowed to have abortion by virtue of the fact that they should not be forced to carry a baby.
Yeah, but that's just a counterclaim with no argument. I'm just going to ask the same question, right? I'm just going to ask
Okay.
another question, which
Right.
is why.
It's circumstantial.
I don't know what that
So-
means. What do you mean?
So it really depends on your circumstances. Like if I mean, I know people who have I'm not one of them, but I know a lot of people who have people I'm related to, especially white people, who have like a ton of kids. And
Okay.
they just fucking mooch off the fucking state and the government and
Okay, so
They're
it sounds
not-
like you're saying something like, in the case in which a child could not be properly taken care of, and they have to mooch off the system, then in virtue of that, having an abortion is justified. So, am I correct about that?
yeah, you're not
Okay.
wrong.
Okay, so by that logic, if you are mooching off the system, is it logical that we kill you?
Are you vegan?
Oh fuck.
No, I'm not vegan.
He's suggesting to you.
Well,
Let me-
but wouldn't you agree that his logic is?
I want to hear her answer the question.
Okay. No.
Okay, so it seems like you're special pleading at this point, right?
I
So you want to say?
definitely recognize that there's a certain point like where in gestation where the fetus is able to experience pain and is somewhat sentient. So at that point,
I don't see how that's relevant.
I would say that is scary and fucked up, but
I don't see how any of this is relevant.
Before then, like early in the pregnancy, abort.
Yeah, I don't see how any of this is relevant.
Declan,
well, sorry.
Without you muting me, I know you want to carry on talking to her.
I
You've
didn't
never
mute
been
you.
pregnant
I want to
either. You've never.
add something. Okay.
Go ahead.
So what I wanted to add was that the political situation in America on the question of abortion is different to say Ireland, because Ireland voted abortion in.
I've been to Belfast. I love it there. Giant's
Oh,
Causeway.
Jesus Christ.
So beautiful.
What I wanted to make
Can
Sorry.
you look?
Sorry.
Can you just not fucking get distracted and just stay on
Sorry.
point? That would be
I'm
great.
stoned, all
Have
right?
the
I'm
conversation.
sorry.
Oh my God!
Dude,
Look at the
I'm
butterfly!
sorry.
I'm gonna go chase a butterfly. It's so pretty.
Clarice, I'm just making my point.
Oh, squirrel.
Flashback.
Yeah, I don't see how
Sorry.
any of this is relevant at this point.
Nothing is relevant.
Oh my God! It's a pretty flower. I'm
Well,
gonna go mess
okay,
it.
so it is
Fuck
relevant
you,
though,
dude.
because
It is relevant. Why do you keep muting me?
yeah, because like suppose you have a cancer tumor growing. Now that is essentially human, and it is essentially leeching on the rest of your
tumor?
body's resources.
No,
Sure.
it's not human. It's not the
Well,
potential.
it's mutated, but it's still human.
No, it's
Listen, let
not.
me finish the point. In
It's not the
America,
potential
the
to
people
become a
never
human.
voted for abortion. It was an
That's
overkill
true. It does
decision
have
by
human DNA.
Where do we get
by
these
by,
fucking
by the
names?
High Court. It was just proposed. It was never a voted for.
Brother
decision.
Baines, please shut the fuck up. Just please.
He's actually pretty
So,
smart.
Clarice, you were saying you were
Um,
defending some idea?
Yes. So I was.
About abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Are you guys like pro-life?
We're
I
asking
am.
you to just
I'm
make
asking
a
you
fucking
right
argument.
now. I'm asking you right
I
now.
am.
Are you pro-life?
Yes, I am.
I'm
Oh,
pro
I
life.
am
answer.
not.
Thanks.
He wants to hear what you think.
Oh,
Never really
baby.
answered the
Brother
Hold
question.
on.
Baines, can you please
be-
like
Hold
stop?
on. I'll be white black.
White black.
I'll be white black.
White blacked.
She won't answer your question about motive. The answer is convenient.
Thank you,
So-
whoever muted him. I
So,
was about to
so-
toss myself off a fucking building.
This is
So-
why I was asking
Declan-
her. Oh, go ahead, just John.
yeah. So Declan, if I may, what would you say in case of like say a tumor growing anywhere inside someone's body? Like, do we not have the right to remove that kind of resource leech?
Yeah, so I tend to cash out this issue of abortion, like in terms not so like people want to go down the road of sentience, right? And then they want to separate it from its human nature. And what I want to say is that it's both of those tied in with potentiality of personhood. So I want to say something like the difference between a tumor and a fetus, for example, is potentiality for
Right.
personhood. That would be the difference. And then I place moral value on potentiality of personhood.
Did you say?
Yeah,
Did you
I actually appreciate
child
that
to a
argument.
tumor? Did you equate a child to a tumor?
Yes,
Well,
he did.
I
Yes.
equated, I suppose I equated a fetus to a tumor in the same way that we would equate a fetus to like an actual adult human being, right? If we're saying that we don't want to kill adult people, therefore we shouldn't kill like no matter how little resemblance it has to a person, then by the same kind of logic, I could say, well, if we don't want to kill off that kind of cell lump, then why would we kill off, say, another kind.
But
But
Declan,
the potentiality argument is actually rather.
As I said to you
I
earlier,
have to think about that.
a fertilized egg has potential. You don't care about like the morning after pill, right?
I'm agnostic on that. I think like having a child myself, it's put a lot of things into perspective as far as potentiality of personhood at an extremely early level. Like if this would have been before I would have had my child, I would have said, well, yeah, I think you got me there. But I think I look at it differently now.
Okay, I'm black again. Sorry.
when you likened a child to a tumor, it just tells me that you believe that you got this utopian view that the answer to the world's problems, the issue is population.
No.
What are we talking about now?
Look, Brother Baines, with all due respect, you can't just put words into my mouth, right? I didn't liken a child to a tumor, right? I likened a fetus to one, something that may well never develop into a child, something that is, for the time being, a resource drain without any known benefits.
I don't think I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm deducing that that's your underlying.
No, deductions have to like actually logically follow, and what you're doing is not that.
Well, obviously, if a child is.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about a child, so.
Yo, what's popping? What's popping? What's popping? What's popping? Yo, what's up, my niggas?
Oh my goodness.
Eddie, calm down, my friend.
Who is that so I can kick him?
Sure, it's
I
AD.
muted him
Don't
already.
kick him.
He might have
He's
had
just
something
excited.
interesting to say.
No.
Okay,
This is Krillism. Relax, people.
It's not. This is not Krillism.
Him doing that would lead you to think he has something to say?
Oh, bacon.
I don't think
Clarice. Come on,
Let's stop talking
Clarice.
about it. Let's go back to this.
You know I love you, Clarice.
Yeah, but Declan's definition to Clarice, he was trying to parse out the difference between a potential human and an adult human with an analogy. And then what's his fella, Gliston, came in and basically he made the division, basically saying the analogy would no longer suffice, is how I summed it up, between a potential human, bringing amongst the elements a potential tumor, a tumor, and an adult human. An adult human already has.
No. Look, you've got it reversed. He brought up the issue of the tumor, and I said, look, no, I don't equate that to a fetus because the difference between the two is potentiality of personhood, right?
I know, but an adult human isn't a potential human. It's already got personhood. It's already.
That's a different question, right? Like,
so that was your analogy.
I mean, no one is. No. I know. I'm not saying. Look, what my argument is not saying something like, look, the only things which ought to be valued are that have potential personhood. What I'm saying is that minimally, that which should be valued would be something that has potential for personhood.
You sound so
that's
deep
not
right now.
So that's not
an
contrary.
adult person does not have potential personhood. It is a person.
He's not done at this point. Just let him get his point out.
So what I said was not, again, what I said was not only things that have potentiality for personhood ought to be valued. So this leaves the room open for your counter argument, right? So in the case in which you say, oh, well, okay, humans at that point no longer have potential to have personhood, I would say, yeah, and in virtue of the fact that they have personhood, I think they ought to be valued.
Look, any time the state uses the word personhood, they're simply trying to strip human.
No one cares about the state.
We're not doing politics right now.
You're talking about the word personhood. That is a judicial argument.
Brother Baines, we're taking a left turn that was not a necessary
fucking moral argument.
That's all that is.
No, it's not. It's a moral argument. It's nothing to do with legality or judiciality.
But nothing to do with real.
Well, personhood is legal.
A potential personhood and personhood are two different things.
I understand, and the difference, the reason why I'm not subject to your counter argument is because the qualifier that I used, which was minimally, right? Minimally does not mean, it doesn't mean only in instances of potential personhood in this context, right? So it leaves the door open for me to say potential personhood and X, where X in this case are those cognizers, right, with personhood. which I guess is
Right, I'm
redundant.
just saying that you were fitting that into your question. You qualified that with your question to Clarice, meaning you didn't initially qualify potential
Well, I
person.
don't have to. No. I absolutely did. In
You
the beginning, I
eventually did.
absolutely
You
did.
didn't
No.
initially.
Look, I was asked, right? Like, so what is it? It's the age-old question in abortion. Okay, well, at what point do you consider them to be of moral worth? And in the very beginning, I gave that answer.
Look, I would just say that, look, from a philosophical perspective, it's just a bit of a violation because personhood obviously is a legal term. From a philosophical perspective, acorn turns into an oak, human being, cells turn into a human being.
Jesus Christ.
You know, drawing a line saying, well, personhood now, it's not a human being until this moment, is preposterous.
Like if you abort a fetus, it's no longer got potential personhood, and it was never a person. So by virtue of it not being a person and being a fetus, you could abort it.
Look, that's no. Potential personhood. A fetus has the ability to have potential personhood. Now, if you said something like, "What if it was what would be, I guess, a fetus without a brain?" If that's not a contradiction in terms, I would say, okay, well, that's something different, right? Abort that clump of tissues. That's the distinction I make between. Go ahead.
With the medical technology we have today, like a skin cell, like it has the potential as a potential human being because we could just take its DNA and make the same person.
I'm not sure if that's true. You'd have to show me evidence for that.
We could.
Yeah, I think that's a good objection, right? If we lived in a world, if we lived in a world in which that was possible, I would probably have to adjust my argument.
I really think.
Yeah. I mean, even in the same vein,
what comes before this point is not a human being.
Well, I think.
Yeah, in the same vein, like I think
possible. The fact that people have some kind of ethic against cloning humans, but I don't think that cloning humans is some kind of impossibility, like out of reach of science, science right now.
Yeah.
And
another train that I sometimes go in the abortion route is that I try to think of abortion as the termination of a pregnancy, not so much as the killing of a child, right? Because there will come a day when we can incubate children outside of a mother's womb.
Well, I think at that point,
and
right,
for that, and at that point, we have to be free to terminate a pregnancy.
Well, I think as far as I'm concerned, like let's say Godless is correct, right? Let's say that this is a world in which you could turn any form of DNA into a child. I would be fine with biting that bullet, right? I would be fine with biting that bullet and saying something to the effect of, well, I consider myself immoral for shedding fucking skin cells. If entailed in that, I can also say that it's immoral to abort what you would call a fetus. I would be fine with biting that bullet.
Also, when you said terminate pregnancy rather than killing a child, you're just making a semantic argument, kind of like in Vietnam.
No, it's not. It's not a semantic argument. But it is an important distinction, though, because the point is not to kill the child. The point is to set.
I haven't made the point. I was saying, like in Vietnam, when they called it collateral damage. You're just using a construction of words to avoid the moral issue.
In Vietnam.
No, I'm pointing out that the moral issue is an issue that will not persist indefinitely. And therefore, the talk of the freedom to terminate a pregnancy should be held eventually.
The moral issue is that the term personhood is an abstract concept to suggest it's not a human being before that point.
Where do you? Okay, so who gives a fuck? I did say nothing about personhood. Now you're getting on back about personhood.
That's it. That's all.
I'll speak right back.
Those poor little baby monkeys.
It does make you think though, if like with cloning, if somebody cloned you, would you say that clone of you is you as well?
Yes.
Makes me think of the film Blade Runner.
Depends what you mean by you, though, because it's because if by you mean your DNA, that is you. If by
like if you have an identical
niggas in my butt, niggas in my butt, niggas in.
What the fuck?
You guys know the film Blade Runner?
Yeah.
I think if you look at that film with the replicants, I think they're trying to talk about this issue And I've been trying to think about that film for 30 years, 20 years. I don't know how long it's been.
But we're talking about clones here, though.
It's interesting because it talks about a lot of the issues that we talk about. So you've got immigration, all these Chinese now, the threat economically. You've got pollution. The whole place is fucked up with pollution. You've got some liberal who likes Chinese food, but everyone's left, so he's all alone up in his tower. And everyone else is like, it's like this.
Subject, please.
Yeah, I'd say that if you got cloned, I reckon that person wouldn't be you.
Let's talk about veganism.
Let's not.
The subject is that in
Challenge
Blade Runner,
me.
they're talking about they're talking about creating people, cloning people. That's what we're talking about, right?
No, I want to challenge this bitch on veganism.
Wait,
this
Declan, you would, so
I've got a conversation commissar on. So
seems like
Go ahead, Chum.
Sorry, it seems like okay. So just to catch everyone up, was that I was like really thoroughly intrigued that you would that you would say that if we could clone humans out of cells or whatever, scratching your arm would be immoral because it would shed cells which potential persons.
Yeah, I would be fine with biting that bullet. I would be fine with biting that bullet. Like
you said,
it's one of the rare. It's one of the
That's an
rare. It would be
extreme
one of the
example.
rare moral stances in which I don't think it would affect me pragmatically. Like I don't think there would be any negative result on my end for affirming that if entailed in that. Go ahead.
It just seems absurd. It just seems like it
is
makes
absurd.
have an absurd
Yeah.
view. And you said that the
Well-
reason that you would take it was because you want to affirm that abortion, because you still want to be able to affirm that abortion is moral.
Right.
just
Yeah.
seems
So
like-
there's a couple things.
Preposterous rationalization.
There are a couple things there. Okay. Number one, it seems that when you say that it's absurd, it's not that there's any contradiction there, right? It's not that you're making a charge that there's any contradiction there.
No.
But rather it just seems like from your value judgment that it's weird. And I'm fine with affirming that, right? I'm fine with saying to you, look, yeah, that's really odd. But given that it's not going to affect me in any way pragmatically, I'm fine with affirming what you call to be absurd if I can follow what my intuitions tell me, which is that it's in fact immoral to abort a child.
In stem cell research, they're like creating and destroying human embryos in petri dishes.
Even if you're not pragmatically
Right.
disturbed by anyone else's abortion, you're still disturbed by it.
So is
Not-
that
Yeah. It
unethical?
just
Is it
look. I'm
unethical?
arguing for a point that for a point that seems to be true, in virtue of my intuitions. Like I'm just using an argument, I think, to reinforce what my intuitions tell me at this point.
Right.
I just don't think that arguing.
He pretty much basically he just sees it as like killing babies, and that's how he's.
That's
gonna
actually
see it.
correct.
Yeah,
That's-
he's just
yeah.
gonna always see it
I
that
don't
way.
see that having the maximum number of children on the earth is like having pregnancies intentionally don't terminate is something which grounds some kind of moral.
For people who are not prepared to take on other little tiny humans. Yeah.
Well,
they
so-
shouldn't have sex then.
Well, the
Well,
thing
that's
is
stupid.
the only way I'm
That's
going to be able to
right.
speak to
Don't
you.
have sex.
The only way I'm going to be able to speak to you on the subject, other than the argument that I gave, is from an
Don't go in.
emotional area, right?
Don't walk
Like,
down the
it's not-
street if you don't want to get murdered. Fucking-
Right.
Walking on
Not
the
a
street
counter-argument,
is having
sorry.
sex, yeah? No,
Don't be a
have sex
girl
if you don't want
with boobs
babies.
and a
If you don't-
vagina.
if
because
you don't
might
wanna get-
raped.
you don't want to
Oh.
get injured skateboarding, just don't go skateboarding. It's not a
on the
counter
same
argument.
level.
Yeah, it is.
It's not on the same level. No, it's not.
Of course, you're saying if you don't want to have negative consequences from sex, don't have sex. And I'm saying that's akin
Please
to
tell me
saying
how they're the same. How they're the same thing. If you
Well, I
get
just
injured
did.
on a skateboard, it's like whatever. If you fucking have a baby, that's a
you get
big
really
fucking issue.
injured on a skateboard. It's not
If
whatever.
you have a baby, you should not be on a
Yeah.
skateboard.
It's not the same level
It's
of intensity.
I used the same same
but it's
phrasing,
not the same
and I
level
put
of
it back to you
intensity.
in a way that you disagreed with. So now you're saying that it's not analogous, and you're not able to show that it's not analogous because you're just saying the magnitude is different, but you're not saying the
Absolutely,
analogy is wrong.
it makes sense. No, the analogy
Well,
is
then
fine.
the analogy is
The magnitude is
okay.
wrong.
Okay, well that's not an issue then.
It's the consequences that come from doing it. It's like
Mm.
saying,
Argument
"Oh,
to the
well, I really hate someone, so I'm gonna kill them," and it's like, and
Yeah,
it's
like
like,
that
no, you have
person
to.
really pissed me off.
What? The argument to the consequences.
Just don't kill them.
The argument to the consequences is you shouldn't have sex because you can get pregnant. That's an argument to the consequence.
Yeah,
You could
wear
you just
protection.
get birth
Don't have
control,
sex. You know, that sort of
or
stuff.
just like
Saying
get
don't
birth
have
control.
sex is telling people to deny their basic
The
desires.
pill is awesome.
You might as well just say don't have those desires. That's going to be as effective.
You can
Roman, come here, baby.
get rid of those desires in other ways. Don't have unprotected sex would probably be a better quote.
I mean, you can have protected sex and still have children. There's like no reason why you shouldn't have like morning after pills. You shouldn't have.
Yeah, you got to remember, there's
the
always a consequence. Though.
option
You've
to
got
have
you've
abortion.
essentially you've got to be a fucking man, and if something happens, you got to fucking deal with it. Or I mean,
Having abortion
woman's
is
gotta
dealing
man up
with
as
it.
well. No,
Yeah.
that's the wrong way to deal with it.
Well, you're saying deal with it, and then I'm saying this is them dealing with it, and you're saying, oh, that's wrong. That's the wrong way of them dealing with it.
Yeah,
Now you're
that's what we've
changing
been
the claim.
arguing about. We've been arguing about how it's immoral this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's not fair to those women. They can't go out on Saturday night and dance because they got a belly bump. Those poor women. Go kill those babies.
Among other things. Sure.
What is so important that you'd have to kill a baby for?
Convenience.
Well, I mean, it depends. Depends. That's the woman's decision. Comes down to.
Yeah, it depends, but you can't come up with anything, right?
Well, I think all sorts of things. I think all sorts of valid reasons.
All right, name some.
Like convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously? Oh.
That's disgusting. Big Chum, come on, convenience. That's what I was saying. Going out on Saturday night dancing. That's convenience, right?
I don't have some.
You don't want to stop the mom from having to go out and dance for a poor woman.
I don't have some kind of moral imperative that women having the maximum number of children possible and populating the planet to the maximum extent possible, some kind of moral or benevolent.
Why can't they use protection? There's condoms. There's
they can use protection.
There's all kinds of shit out there. There's creams. There's pills.
Well, the question kind of flips back on you is why can't they have abortion? Because I've said that they can use protection. You're saying they can't use.
Because they've gone into the act, they've created the baby, essentially, or the fetus.
Yeah, one-day-old fetus.
Yeah.
I guess I'd ask you, why can't we murder other human beings? Why can't I murder you?
Well, a fetus isn't a person.
Well, I mean,
Sorry,
a
I got my
baby,
terminology mixed.
a baby still is like completely reliant on the mother until the age of like.
Murder is a legal term. Person is
like
also
2 or 3 or something like that.
Actually, yeah, we breastfeed like for at least a year, at least.
But
yeah, I
some
think
people can't.
Majority of abortions are had with a pill, and all abortions are not taxpayer funded or paid for in any way due to the Hyde Amendment.
Hang on,
but they want them to be
Planned
taxed.
Parenthood?
They want the taxpayers to pay
Planned
for
Parenthood
it. Right?
is because
They've been
Planned Parenthood
poisoned.
doesn't only offer abortion. Planned Parenthood offers health services.
False. That's not true. They don't. That's very, very wrong. It's a very small percentage that they help with anything besides
What the fuck,
abortion.
bacon?
Well, you
Yeah,
don't know what
well,
you're talking
honestly,
about.
called it a poison, not a pill.
Oh my god.
I mean, if that's true, I'd like to see the statistics on that, but I don't usually see you give.
Just wondering, why in law?
Let me finish eating. I'll look.
Why in law, when a mother is murdered with a baby while she's pregnant, right? Why is it considered a double murder?
Oh shit.
That's a good inconsistency to point out. Nice one.
But depends what the law specifically.
It highlights the incoherence of your position.
Well, how is it incoherent?
Because he's pointing out that in that instance,
Because
double murder.
because in
Does
one
make it incoherent.
situation, right, the baby is not human, and you can get an abortion. But in the other instance, it's a human.
No, person.
Whatever. It's a human. It's a human person.
Well, person
It's fucking ridiculous.
person is the legal term.
So it's an argument you don't want to deal with, but it's an inconsistency.
Well, I never said that I don't want to deal with the arguments.
You're not dealing with it, so I can assume that.
Well, it's been given 10 seconds ago, so fuck off.
Okay, take your time. Right now, you're not dealing with it. Okay.
Yeah, so the question is what the law specifically says, if there's an age parameter in the law, and
What?
and the mother's intentions with the child.
Look, he's talking about an
Okay.
inconsistency.
But
So,
so essentially, it's up to the
inconsistency
mother
is
to decide
manifest
whether
in
or
the
not it's
law.
murder
I
or
agree
not.
with that. Inconsistency is expressed in the law as well. But how do you explain this philosophical inconsistency?
Not a philosophical inconsistency, legal inconsistency. You're saying
Okay,
that one law.
does it not highlight that does it not highlight that the situation doesn't really have a coherent philosophical basis?
What do you mean? We're talking about
Yeah, I don't know
you're
what
talking
you're
about
about, brother.
philosophy and you're pointing to legality.
So
This
let
is
me
the
ask you a
category
question.
area.
Let me ask you a question, Chum. Have you ever heard of an incident where a mother was killed and the baby was killed, so it was a double homicide?
Yeah, I think
You
I
have heard of that.
exists.
So, do you remember reading anything about context of? Did it say in the newspaper? Well, the mom wanted to
didn't.
keep the baby, so they decided. Well, I'm just trying to figure out where you get the, where.
I've only heard about that law in conversation, so I can just assume that it's a law which exists because obviously people reference it.
Well, people have
And
even police officers lie. Everybody lies.
well, sure, but I don't think that's like some kind of crazy. I'm just willing to accept it that it's a law.
Okay.
That's an excellent one, man. I'm gonna have to think about that. That's a great way of showing, one of the inconsistencies. Again, I don't feel you answered the issue of inconsistency. I think you batted it aside, but there is a fundamental inconsistency there. The law is the law is
let's get
the
some
law is a
details.
red herring because it's talking about the way people think, and obviously that's expressed in law. We're talking about a more deeper thing than the law.
I just think it's strange that it's the woman that decides whether or not it's murder or whether or not it's justified, like a justified kill.
Surprised at you guys because you were all on the abortion thing, really angry at the lady. Let's be honest. But is it, are men entirely blameless here?
You're just muddying the waters at this point, Brother Baines.
I'm not. I'm talking about what I witnessed. Why am I always doing something nefarious, man?
Because you can't track a fucking conversation, Brother Baines, as usual.
Not saying
And
you're
I'm saying
nefarious. He just wants to keep the conversation focused area. And
I mean, I can only, I'll fully admit that, like, my motivation for arguing for being pro-life is purely emotional, right? I'm not without argument, but it seems to just be true to me from intuition, given that I'm a father. Like, I can't imagine, no matter how hard my life has been financially, aborting my daughter. I can't fathom that. Now, granted, I can see this isn't true for some parents, or we wouldn't be talking about the issue of abortion. But I come at this from like a heavy emotional place. I can't imagine it.
For what it's worth, from the long line of philosophers who weren't trying to bullshit people and tell them what they want to hear, they all agree with your basic instincts.
It is hard. Like, I mean,
Right. It is instinctual that it's more immoral to kill a pregnant woman. Kill
You don't need to be a philosopher to know that.
well, pretty much immoral for anyone to kill a woman. Pretty much.
Yeah, but what's ridiculous, Chum, is that I mean, given the arguments laid out here today from those who are pro-abortion, you would have to rephrase that to it's immoral. Well, you'd have to rephrase that to it's immoral. The more immoral to kill a pregnant woman or not, right? Like, well, what I mean by that is that does she want the baby, right? If she wants the baby and you kill the woman, well, it seems that everything goes out the door if you want to prosecute that person for double homicide,
Well,
right? Because after all,
without more information, sure, but I mean, you could just say it's less immoral to kill a pregnant woman, or it's more immoral to kill a pregnant woman or not if the baby grows up to be Hitler or something, or it's extremely more immoral if the kid grows up to be the next fucking Einstein or something. I mean, it's just more information.
Well, it's an infinite chain.
It's always going to lead to a better decision in almost every case.
Well, see, but as far as your Hitler example, I'm not sure I would capitulate that point, right? Like, I don't even want to say it was immoral for Hitler's mother to carry Hitler. It just seems like, yeah, Hitler did a fuck ton of really horrible shit. He was a piece of shit that should have been killed later, right? But it just doesn't seem like it's true to me to say that his mother was immoral for carrying him.
If we say
I wouldn't have
he
aborted
will
her baby.
become Hitler, he will carry out evil atrocities on like a huge scale. I mean, then when we say that
there's a
it's okay
hypothetical
that the
that's
mother
not
was
stated
carrying
in reality,
him,
though.
and it's okay that people weren't killing him until he decided to have his first massacre of Jews or something,
right?
Then we're being irrational because we're saying that he will do those things.
But that's the thing is that I'm not sure.
That's not bound in reality. Though.
I'm not sure. Like I'd have to parse out what kind of power an argument would have just based purely on pragmatics, right? Because then you could just kick the can down the road and say, okay, well, Hitler was going to kill a bunch of people. In virtue of what is his death justified, right? Why is it that because he was going to kill a shitload of people, he should have been killed? You just kick the can down the road. This is why philosophy is so frustrating at times.
Well, I mean, it's a hypothetical. Like I said, that's not bound in reality. And if it was actually something that did happen in our reality, then yes, pretty much everybody would go, yes, abort the baby.
No, take your own advice while you mean
that's the answer you want.
To the trouble, which is abortion. May I say something? We had a conversation today. Several people are involved. You were involved. Several other people are involved. There were several points put to the sort of people who believe abortion's legitimate, and there were three points. I noted them down that there was no answer for. One was why. So the lady didn't want to talk about motive, which was inconvenience. The other one was personhood. Simply saying that personhood is an abstract concept that dehumanizes what came before. No answer to that. The other one is the inconsistency of why is it a double murder and so on. And what I'm saying is you don't hear these arguments in the media. That's not how the debate is managed in the media, because none of these arguments they could handle in the media. You hear it managed in a completely fabricated, managed way. These are three straightforward arguments that would be very difficult for them to handle, but we never hear them on the television.
Bangs, I gotta ask a question. Why does everything segue to media with what you say? It's always back to government and media.
It's on my mind very much. Hold on, I got a phone call coming in.
Okay.
It's the media calling him. They want him to be quiet. They're worried that he's going to reveal all their secrets because they don't want to talk about double murder suicide bullshit or whatever he said.
It could. I mean, his questions very easily answered the fact that media segments usually go for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you think they really have time to do a fucking structured debate in 5 minutes? Maybe one question. They have
Yeah,
time for
force it
one
in between
question for 5 minutes.
a story about a bridge collapsing in Italy. Just sort out the abortion debate.
Yeah, it is interesting how like this current form, well, like the traditional form of media through the TV has now become probably the worst form of media nowadays due to the internet. Like the fact that there's people around that have huge discussions. Like, well, when I mean huge, I mean like, let's say podcasts and all them political podcasts where there's people talking about specific things for hours upon hours. Really just goes to show that, you know, media's changed. Like, at least good media has changed. Yeah, TV's pretty shit.
I want our old Lowell's cows back so bad.
Dude, they always come back. They'll be back. This includes Dionysus.
I know, but this is insufferable.
Yeah, Brother Banks is a terrible fucking Lulz cow. I mean, in one sense, right? Like, he is a fucking Lulz cow, but he's just terrible because he's annoying.
His udders are all scarred up.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Declan, by virtue that your daughter will one day die, what was the reason why you brought her into life? Okay.
I don't know, because I wanted to.
Oh, so if
Yeah.
somebody wanted to have an abortion.
No, you asked me why I brought her, not why it would be justified to bring her
People
in.
want to have abortions. They want to have them.
Okay.
You just summed up a whole argument with I wanted.
Hang on.
No,
Hang
no.
on,
Look, you asked
hang
me why I did, not why it would be justified in doing so.
Yeah.
I
So
said
it may be the
lift you
case.
up.
Hold on. It may be the case that I'm immoral for bringing my daughter into the world, right? That may be the case. But so far, I've not heard an argument to show why that's the case.
Because she's going to die. Eventually.
Okay. And
well, I'm just contrasting the abortion death conversation earlier